It's been over a decade since Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's ended, yet the series is still regarded as one of the best, if not the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, and is considered a masterpiece by many. While I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's as a whole was a masterpiece, as the series did have some rocky points, I can say without a doubt that the Dark Signer arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's is the best arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. It was something truly special, and to this day, none of the series before it or after it have been able to replicate. Now, what makes the Dark Signer arc so special? It's a combination of many things. The fact that all the main characters in the series have a chance to play a big role in the arc was huge. Also, the fact that the story was so tightly woven, you can tell even in the arc that precedes it, which is the Fortune Cup arc, the Signers, the Crimson Dragon, all of these things were thought beforehand, and it sets up the Dark Signer arc so nicely. It's also the twist, the villains, and like the music, the animation, all of it together is what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's the Dark Signers arc so special. Just for brief context, I'll go over the premise of the Dark Signers arc and the Fortune Cup arc that precedes it. So in the Fortune Cup arc, we find out these people have these red dragon marks on their arms. They also find out that there's this weird red dragon that gets summoned. It appears twice in the Fortune Cup arc. It appears when Jack and Yusei duel for the first time and the second one. We don't really know what it is. It shows them this weird, I guess, flashback of this temple and these hieroglyphics. So we find out later in the Dark Darksiders arc what this actually is. The dragon is called the Crimson Dragon. It gives the marks to the people who would become signers, and it's called the Mark of the Dragon. There are 5 marks: the head, the tail, the wings, the arm, and the foot. So we know where 4 of them are. We just don't know where the head is. The head, we have no idea who actually has it or where it is. All we know is that it exists. So in the Dark Signers arc, we find out that the Crimson Dragon gives these marks to the people who it considers signers, and each person has a signer dragon. Main villains in this arc are known as the Earthbound Immortals, or Earthbound Gods in the Japanese version. They are kind of like the opposite of the Crimson Dragon. They want to do bad things to the world, while the Crimson Dragon wants to stop them. Just like the Signers, like the Crimson Dragon has the Signers, there are also Dark Signers who use the Earthbound Immortals as the Signers use the Signer Dragons. Basically, every 5,000 years they'll fight, and what happens to the human world depends on who wins this conflict. Now that we got the brief context out of the way, we can really dig into what makes the Dark Darksiders arc so good, like the characters, the story, and the villains, the music, the animation. The main cast in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds are Yusei, who's the protagonist, Jack, the rival, Crow, Akiza, and the twins, Luna and Leo, or known as Ruka and Rua in the Japanese version. The biggest issues that Yu-Gi-Oh! Series have always had is that they are really bad at dividing screen time between the main cast. It's either that only the protagonist and 1 or 2 other of the main characters get to do anything important, such as in the Duel Monsters and in Zexal, or there are just far too many characters that they can't give them all screen time and development because there's just way too many of them, such as in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and Arc 5. You can tell that in those series they quickly abandon characters and they have nothing for them to do just because there's way too much other stuff they have to write. When I watched the Dark Darksiders arc, I actually felt like they did a really good job avoiding this. So the twins are the characters out of the main character. The twins are by far easily they get the least amount of screen time. But in the Dark Darksiders arc, they actually get to do something really nice. Like Luna as a character, she gets to go to the spirit world. She frees Ancient Fairy Dragon. She beats a D-back and she gets her Signer Dragon. I think that's really cool for her. And Leo, you can clearly tell that his character was supposed to do a lot more. I think it's very easily to tell that the 5th Signer Dragon was just supposed to be he was supposed to be a Signer. That's his Signer Dragon. It has a shocking resemblance to Power Tool Dragon done on purpose. It's like they're trying to foreshadow that Power Tool Dragon would eventually become that new Signer Dragon, right? But unfortunately, they changed their mind and they, at least they didn't throw away his character. They could have just abandoned Leo's character like they did with other ones in other series like GX and then Arc 5 where they just completely throw characters into their relevancy waste bin. But instead, they at least give him something. He gets his 5 minutes of fame. He gets to duel against D-back and use Power Tool Dragon, which is awesome. It's just really, really sad how they cut away his screen time for another character who we'll get into next. So the next character is Crow. He's a lot different than the rest of the main cast because he does not appear in the Fortune Cup arc. He appears only in the Dark Darksiders arc where he's introduced. As we said, that Leo's character got shafted for another one, and for that character, it was Crow. Crow just starts off as just some random guy who's friends with Yusei who steals cards, but eventually we get to see more of his character. He gets more screen time and more duels. He gets to fight against the Dark Signer Greiger. So despite his character showing up later in the series, they still give him a lot of screen time. He gets to do a lot, and I don't want to explain what it is because it'll be a spoiler, but later on in the series he does actually he appears more and he actually gets to play a huge role later on in the series. But yeah, his character was widely popular, which is why they decided to shoehorn him into the main cast. He gets a lot of duels. He gets a good amount of screen time. The Blackwing archetype was incredibly popular in the TCG, and it was really nice seeing them in the anime because they had so much explosive power. And Crow's a cool character and all, but it's just really sad. It makes you wonder what would Leo have done and how would he have gotten his dragon if he would actually like gotten the screen time and Crow didn't show up to kind of steal the spotlight from him. The next main character is main heroine Akiza. I actually really like what they did with Akiza. The Yu-Gi-Oh series have just done a really bad job of like treating the heroines, you know? Like when you look at Duel Monsters and Zexal, like Tori and Taya, like they're just cheerleaders on the side. They don't get to do much. And in Arc 5, Yuzu just gets kidnapped across dimensions waiting for Yuya to rescue her. And Alexis does get some very slight development at the start of GX, but it's very clear that they just abandoned that and they just like completely disregard her. So it's actually cool that like a female lead in Yu-Gi-Oh actually gets to do something. Like this is like the only series they've ever done that to this day. And it's really awesome. Like, Akiza gets her own kind of story. She has her own development. She has an amazing card, like Black Rose Dragon. They gave her an awesome deck. And it's just like, it's really nice actually seeing a main character female lead actually get to do something. Like, I'm just so used to the other series where they just completely get disregarded and like the writers don't even come to think anything up for them. But you know, Akiza has a real story. She has like really interesting details. She belongs to this like psychic, it's called the Arcadia movement. She has psychic powers and, you know, we get to learn more about her. And like, I'm just happy that a female lead actually gets good development in the series. So yeah, that's why I think the Dark Signers arc is like nice. It's refreshing to see that the writers actually thought of something good for Akiza. The next main character is Jack, the rival of the series. Now, Jack is like an incredibly interesting person. Like his development in the series is awesome. Like he starts the series as an incredibly selfish person. All he cares about himself, like money, fame, and like the title, so people like know that he's the best in the world. And even before we get some flashbacks to where, in order for him to get to Neo Domino City and become like the quote unquote king, he steals Yusei's Duel Runner and his best card. It's like, wow, like he is just incredibly selfish and arrogant. Like he'll just do anything. His character, he'll just do anything it takes to what he believes will get him higher up in the world, you know. And then how his character changes is like after he loses to Yusei, like he just completely reflects on his life. Like there's a point where Yusei is like all moping around and he like clobbers him in the face and like reinvigorizes him like after he lost to Callan, and it's like, wow, it's so interesting to see because like you think that like someone like him would care about like nothing other than himself, but then he begins to reflect upon his life and like change and like actually care about other people. Like even Carly, who's just like a random news reporter, like he absolutely cares about her and like feels sad that she passes away. It's like, you know, that was some really good development they gave him. And like the thing I like about him too is like as a rival, he cares more about like just beating Yusei. Like a lot of the series, like the rivals are like Kaiba. Someone like Kaiba is just like obsessed with beating Yugi. But it's really nice that Jack like got to like we got to see more of Jack as a person. Like he doesn't really care about like only winning. He cares about like his friends and like, you know, some other things in life too. And like it's really nice to see. So the last main character in the 5D's cast is our protagonist Yusei Fudo. A lot of people complain that Yusei as a character is far too static, and while I agree he's very static in the series, he doesn't change much, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because I think his character is actually really cool. One of the things about Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists that we learn is like the only thing we ever see them do and like talk about is Yu-Gi-Oh! That's it. And obviously, because it's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, they're going to talk primarily about Yu-Gi-Oh! But I think it's really cool how we get to learn more intrapersonal details about Yusei. It's like how he's an orphan, like he's self-taught, he had to like learn to be a mechanic so he can make his own duel run, or otherwise he wouldn't get to like duel. You know, I think it's really cool how his aspirations and goals that he wishes to achieve in life, like getting his friends out of the satellite and like to better their lives with what he believes like Stardust Dragon will do for them. It's like, it's really awesome to see. And then when he gets his bike stolen and his best card, he's extremely bitter and angry about it. Like he spends the next 2 years making a new duel runner so he can go to Neo Domino City, kick Jack's butt, and take his card back. Like I think that's absolutely really cool. And like the thing is, too, remember I said Yusei lives in satellite. Like he lives in an incredibly poor like town, and it's like it's so relatable because like I think we've all been in a position of our lives where like our lives are not that great and we all want to better ourselves and we all want to work hard so we can achieve our goals. You know, everyone has dreams. Like I've never met anyone in life that was like everything in life was just handed to them. You know, I'm sure those people exist, but I've never met anyone. Like everyone I know who's gotten to some point in life, like they all had to work for it, and I think it's really cool. Like Yusei's had to do that in order to like build his new duel runner and get his card back, and like I think everyone's kind of like that. We all have our own personal goals that we want to achieve, and I think that's why Yusei's super relatable. Like this is one of the reasons why I think the Dark Signer arc is so amazing. Like we get to learn so much about like all the main characters. Like you get to see them develop, you get to see how they duel, you get to see how they interact outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I think it's so nice to see characters in that type of environment, like where it's not just Yu-Gi-Oh! You know? Like I wish we kind of got to see Yugi and like Jaden and like their gang like interact in ways that like didn't involve like dueling. It's really nice to see like Akiza, Jack, Crow, Yusei, the twins, and like them just like getting to learn more details about them and getting to see them develop as people. So now that we've gotten the main cast out of the way, I guess like the heroes, we can talk about the villains. I think the villains in the Dark Signer arc are absolutely incredible. Like one of the ones is Callan. He's an old time friend of Yusei, and he's like upset because he thinks he betrays him, and they duel. And Callan's such a good villain because I think in Yu-Gi-Oh, so many villains can like talk big, and most of them absolutely suck. Like when I think back at Duel Monsters, the villains are absolute joke. Like Merrick duels Yugi like almost 4 times and loses almost all of them. I think one of them was a draw, and then like Bakura loses like so much. Like I think Bakura's only like good wins is against like Bones and his gang. Like, yeah, this guy's like a main villain, and that's all he gets to do. Like the Yu-Gi-Oh villains, now that I think about it, are like absolute jokes because most of them just talk big, and none of them can ever back it up except Callan. Callan's actually really really good. Like when I see Yusei duel against him, like I actually think Yusei has like a huge chance of losing. Like the first duel between Yusei and Callan, it was really close, but Callan absolutely should have won. The only reason Yusei didn't lose that is because of plot armor. He just fell off his bike and got injured, and it was considered no result. Like like also Callan is like a much cooler villain because like. So the villains in 5Ds I think are really fascinating because they're not villains who just like seek the things like world domination and immortality and money and all this stuff. Like no, they actually have like their aim is for like vengeance and like to breaking the cycle. Callan's goals in Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds are so cool because he literally doesn't care about the world domination or money or anything like that. He just wants to beat Yusei because he's bitter at him because he thinks he screwed him over. Like that's so much better than the generic villain stuff that we have in the other series. Like Rex Goodwin is such another great villain. Oh my god, his character is so amazing because his thing is he wants to break the cycle of the Signers and the Dark Signer because every 5,000 years they're always going to fight and they're always going to be a conflict, and he wants to break the cycle by becoming like using the Dark Signer and the Signer marks. Like that's so cool. It's like someone who like sees the endless conflict and just wants to stop it, like to break the chain and like somehow like get rid of this like every 5,000 year war. Like that's so cool. And like the character who inspired him to do that was Roman Goodwin, which is his brother, someone who was like born or cursed or something with both marks. He was a Dark Signer and a Signer, and the inner conflict you see between that character is absolutely so cool because it leads Roman to or leads Rex Goodwin, his younger brother, to solve the issue that his brother could not. He wants to bear both marks and get rid of the Crimson Dragon and the Earthbound Immortals clashing. Like I think the villains in the series are so amazing because like just the way they write them and the actions they do, like that is that's so unique and so amazing. Like just to break the cycle that his brother could not. Like I thought the story in 5Ds was already amazing. I loved the Signer and the Dark Signer battle. It's like how the Signers have to beat the Dark Signer, the dragons, the Earthbound Immortals, how they're like all based on hieroglyphics and like they have to sacrifice the souls and stuff. I already thought that was interesting, but man, the Rex and Roman Goodwin plot twist was amazing to see. How his brother was born with both marks, a Signer mark and a Dark Signer mark, and he couldn't control it. And then his brother's Rex, after Rex saw what it did to his brother, he decided that he will become the Signer and control the marks and end the conflict. Like writing like that was so deep in Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. I was really impressed with what they can come up with. Like you can tell that they actually thought about it and worked on it really hard. It wasn't just something that they like just sat for like a day and came up with. It was something that they planned, they foreshadowed. That's why Rex has that robotic arm that we saw before. It's like things like that really make me appreciate the Yu-Gi-Oh series, like 5Ds as a whole, because it's like you can tell they worked really hard on this. They wanted to make sure that like the writing wasn't sloppy. Like they sat and thought about this for a really long time. On top of like the story, like the duels were absolutely amazing. I love the animation of it. I'm not a big fan of CGI. I don't really like it. However, the regular animation I think in 5Ds was amazing, especially for its time. The theme songs and endings are like amazing. Like I think the music in 5Ds is great. The OTS songs that they put inside there, like those are amazing. Like one of the best tracks, like Jack has a great theme, Yusei has a great theme, Akiza, like all the characters have like amazing music that really fits in the episodes that they're put in. Like honestly, I would say that if you haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, like I would highly recommend watching at least the Dark Signers arc. If you don't want to watch past that, like I kind of understand, but I think the Dark Signers arc is something really special, and I honestly believe it is the best arc in Yu-Gi-Oh history.